Ah, are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. Time after time after. That shot was already over. And what you do next could determine the rest of your round. And living with MS, I've found that it can be the same situation. Let's talk about it. You see, there are a lot of parallels between the game of golf and life in general, but especially in living with MS. And let me explain. See, the game of golf is very, very difficult. You are trying to hit a round object with a flat object. And when you look into the connection point of a round object and a flat object, it's less than a 32nd of an inch of where that contact is. And if you are a 16th of an inch off on either side of that contact point, it's going to mean a lot of yards left or right out there. So no one in the history of the sport, including the professionals, has mastered the game. If that was the case, then you would have somebody out there that could never lose. And that's just not it. From what I've seen in the pros, even them, they're baffled sometimes at the shots that they make. It is a very difficult game. And what I see, let me explain on how they're parallel. What I see in reactions to the game, especially in the recreational, I do see it sometimes in the pros too, but in the recreational golfer, the anger and frustration when a bad shot occurs. There have been people I've seen, even in my own peer group, that are completely level-headed. Good shots, bad shots, it just doesn't affect them. They are really out here just to enjoy being outside and playing the game. And they know, they realize that it's such a difficult sport that you're just out here doing your best and having fun and fellowship, really. But there are some that that just are so competitive with it, or it could be again something inside that is just resonates and comes to life out here. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I do see where when a bad shot happens, and don't get me wrong, it is normal to get frustrated when you do something that you know better, where, putting something too hard or chipping because you lifted your head and you duff the ball. Those are things that, yes, those can be avoided. Those have nothing to do, with the science behind it all. And I'll get to that with MS too. But what I'm talking about is when someone hits a bad shot and, like I demonstrated, getting real angry, even calling themselves names, like berating themselves, slamming the ground with the club or throwing the club. And that mental process, when you do that, it can ruin your round because you can't let go. Or you can't accept that there was a limitation in your abilities for that shot or for the round itself. Now, there are some that I've seen that will blow up at a bad shot, but before the next hole even, it's forgotten. And they're not focusing on this shot, they're focusing on the next shot. Because, again, just like I said, the shot's over. There's nothing you can do about it. And unless you're playing with your friends and you do mulligans, and for those who don't know, a mulligan is a do-over where that bad shot didn't count. Well, in life, there is no mulligans. And in MS, there is no mulligans. So if you're really playing by the rules, that shot is over. The focus should be the next shot. But I've seen others to where when they do have those blow-ups, they get so down on it that they can't forget that they've done it, to where it just keeps carrying and carrying and ruins hole after hole. And then that can also multiply into more bad shots because your focus is gone and the round is done. Now, how does that parallel to MS? I've seen others in MS to where, in my case, I have relapsing and remitting MS. It's not a progressive MS. It's mine does a relapse and then it'll be calm for a while. Then there's a relapse and a calm for a while. And what I've seen with others that have similar is when those relapses happen. I've seen some that are just calm during the remission, and when the relapse happens, they realize there's nothing they can do about it. It's happened. They can't take it back. There's no mulligan. And they've accepted that, and they'll adapt. They'll say, okay, this is now affected. This might have a permanent damage here. I have to now do something differently. And then I've seen others to where the relapse happens and it rocks them mentally. And it's a spiral effect, and it keeps going. And then it affects their life. So, and how I know the parallels when I was talking about the science of the round ball and hitting a flat object, think of your nervous system. The nervous system is way more complex than the science behind golf. The nervous system is very complex, and that's why, just like in golf, it's very hard to find somebody with the exact same swing. Everybody has a unique swing. When you see even like multiple hole-in-ones in a tournament, they're never identical. It's different ways that something's been accomplished. Well, it's the same thing in MS. The nervous system is so complex, there's not really people with the same symptoms or side effects of the disease. It's like with me, my shins and my feet are numb. I've got scars on my shins from walking into a coffee table and I don't feel it. Next thing you know, I'm bleeding. My fingertips are numb from the second digit out, numb. It's nothing there. I've gotten used to it, and it's a struggle sometimes to pick things up because I can't feel it. But again, you just get used to it and you adapt. And so and I've got other friends that have MS that's not the case with them. They've got numbness other places, or side effects in their vision, or different things like that. In their hips, they have a funny gait compared to me because their hips are more affected than mine. Mine are the nerves in my legs are shot from like the knees down. That's why it's hard for me in golf, especially to transition my weight. Because as soon as I try to transition to that front side and I try to lean forward to get my weight forward to compress the ball, my left knee buckles. So I have to do it differently. But so the moral of this is, when a relapse happens, it's happened. You can't go back in time and change it. You have to figure out a way to adapt. And I know acceptance is a process. And when I mean about the frustration part, that's normal in golf. Like when you've done something that you should know better, I get that in MS. When I do something where I know I'm going to have to walk a little bit more than I know or that I should, and I forget my cane. And then you see when I have a video out there where I had to adapt for that because I went to a camping and I forgot my cane. And I forgot a walking stick. And it's like, and I should know better. And at the first moment, I get frustrated. I'm like, I can't go walking with you guys because I forgot my cane. So I understand frustrating things like that. That has nothing to do with the disease. That's me being forgetful. So that's something I should have known better. So I get that. But when I have a relapse or something, it used to really rock me and affect me. And I have another video on that, and if I'll show you, at the end, I'll put in a link at that for the fear video. And we're going to go over some other videos too that expand on other emotions that others may go through. But it used to really rock me when I'd go through a relapse, because that fear would slide into the driver's seat, and it really affected my life. And so, and that acceptance, again, is not a switch that you can just turn on. It's a process of, whether it be through counseling, support groups, faith, to where you just realize that, why are you worrying about tomorrow, when there's enough worry in today? So try not to let the relapses and these physical limitations that you may be going through affect you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Accept that it's happened and you can't go back, but you can go forward. And when you do go forward, you just may have to do it differently. But don't stop doing, adapt, and keep going. God bless.